Hello everybody, how are you wherever you are? This is Jill, Wigmore-Welsh from Reading in Berkshire, UK, and I'm bringing another, I think you call it, episode and I'm very reluctant to call it a podcast these days. I think the word podcast is sort of too reminiscent of when I first set this up. I think that, let's just call this I don't know, what do we call it? Come on, you can send me some messages and make some suggestions. But anyway, so today I'm continuing on to tell you a little bit more about the exciting news that I had. And I spoke to you about this yesterday to explain that I shall be starting running some Feldenkrais lessons online. This is actually something I've shied away from doing for many years. But part of that has also been because I've been very busy working in certain industries. I've got a creaky chair today, listen. It's not going to do it now. I've been very busy working in some industries, and that means that I've not had much time to dedicate to doing what I love doing, and that is word work. I love word work. I love all sorts of different kinds of communication styles, skills, different kinds of word weaving, storytelling, hypnosis, just all sorts of words to do with how we frame things, motivational interviewing techniques. I could go on and on, but anyway, because it's the dialogue in our head, isn't it, and what we say and how we say it to ourselves. I've also been working as a Feldenkrais practitioner for many, many, many years. I first came across it in 1990 through a client, and I started workshops, and immediately I began to realise this was interesting. And as I went through more and more workshops, I began to integrate it, little bits and pieces here and there, into my clinical work as an advanced practice physiotherapist, working with individuals who have health problems. And of course, that's a hugely broad topic, because here in the UK, we have autonomy, and we can work pretty much in this huge, vast area of work. And most especially nowadays, we can work extensively in health promotion. So with the Feldenkrais, I'm going to be launching these Feldenkrais lessons online, and I'm going to be using information from the Esalen 1972 workshop. These are a series of talks. I'll just briefly explain. Yesterday I read through the first part of the introduction that was written by David Zimak-Bursin. Today I'm going to read the next instalment, if you like, in that introduction, but I'm also just going to read the back cover to get you up to pace and speed in what we're talking about. So the Esalen 1972 workshop, so we're talking about, over 50 years ago, was Dr. Feldenkrais' first significant teaching visit to the US, and a pivotal movement in the development of his work. The course took place over 5 weeks, and the participants included many of the leading people in the humanistic psychology movement, adding a distinct quality and excitement to the Feldenkrais' explanations and teaching. So interesting piece of work. As I say, I'm not going to be just reading the lessons out. I will be transcribing them and making the lessons into something that perhaps a little bit more applicable, and have perhaps a slightly unique blend, because I'm not interested in just reading out somebody else's work. So yesterday I just gave that brief introduction about where Esalen was, how long the if you like program lasted, which was 5 weeks, how many people there were, who were 14, about the notes that were made and why they were made, etc. And so now I'm just going to carry on and read another page from the introduction that was written by David. So by the time he, meaning Moshe Feldenkrais, by the time he accepted the invitation to teach at Esalen in 1972, Feldenkrais completed his seminal book, Awareness Through Movement, HarperCollins, and had finished training his first group of Feldenkrais method practitioners, 13 dedicated students in Tel Aviv, Israel. But in many ways, Feldenkrais' course at Esalen was a first. Teaching for an uninterrupted period of 5+ weeks provided Feldenkrais with a rare, sustained teaching context, the likes of which he'd never had before. In his public classes in Israel, he frequently had 2 or 3 classes in a row, but each class had a new group of students. And his Tel Aviv training program, 1968 to 1971, took place on only 1 day a week over a period of 3 years. Because his Tel Aviv training students had been attending his Alexander Yanai group training classes for many years, the primary focus during the training was on learning the individual work, which would soon be named functional integration. In fact, it was at this Esalen workshop in 1972, during a brief discussion with his workshop participants, that the terms awareness through movement and functional integration were chosen to replace group technique and individual technique. At Esalen, Feldenkrais was freed from the constraints of the marketplace. He was able to direct himself to one consistent group of highly engaged students and had the opportunity to start at the beginning, following a path of both developmental and intellectual continuity, putting his thinking into action. And that is exactly what he did. Each day was divided into 2 awareness through movement lessons, 2 lectures or talks, and 2 functional integration lessons given to members of the group. And I'm going to continue with this tomorrow. But the interesting thing to take away from this is the way in which the development of the method took place. The publication in 1972 of Awareness Through Movement by HarperCollins, and obviously this workshop also taking place relatively early. His first training, 1968 to 1971, again 1 day a week over 3 years, all very interesting in terms of the learning and the way in which the trainings have evolved. And just to bring you to that point, because I think that may not be something that you know, the trainings currently run in slightly different ways, but when I did my training back from 1994 to 1999, we met in 2 blocks of the year, is the best way to describe it. So we had to go face to face. There was no internet. There was no opportunity to do lessons via Zoom, to be remote. So a large group of us met together, and we met twice, as I say, twice a year, and it was for 4 weeks in the summer and 2 weeks at the Easter. So that was approximately 10 days so that was Monday to Friday, 10 days, so 2 weeks at the Easter time, and 4 weeks in the summer, which is quite an intensive immersion. We had long days. We had very long days. We used to arrive in the morning. It's probably about 9:30, but by then most people were already practicing in the room. We were beginning to start to learn functional integration, and I'm not sure how many of you know or have experienced a functional integration lesson, but that is actually a hands-on teaching. So you lie on the table, or sit or stand, however the configuration may be, maybe kneeling, etc. And the Feldenkrais table is a very wide table. It's about 1 meter wide, 2 meters long. And when you're on the table, you are guided through the touch and movement of your teacher. So you are able to then sense and feel what's happening inside your body. So the idea is this is to develop interoception, ability to sense and feel, but also this is giving feedback to your brain and central nervous system. So we can analyse and appraise what's happening during a lesson through the lens of neuroscience these days. But what's interesting is that the combination of awareness through movement, we went through a vast training, taking us all the way through from, if you like, from birth, from first moments, first movements, all the way to standing, walking, etc. So the whole of that 4 years was one giant revisiting of the process of learning how to move, which we all have to do, all of us, after we're born. We carry on developing. So we have to learn how to do these things, how to roll over, how to, well, even going back to the beginning, how to organise, how to suck with our lips, how to use our tongue. I won't go into all of it in depth, but we started right at the beginning as if we were small babies, and then we went all the way through, and that took a whole 4 years. Alongside that, we were having lessons in how to organise ourselves emotionally and physically to be able to do Feldenkrais lessons, because in order to be able to have someone on the table and support a limb, you need to be organised in your own configuration, otherwise you can hurt yourself. And also there's a difference in the quality of the movement. If you're well organised, someone lying on the table can pick that up. They can feel safe because you're there as their rock, if you like. You're dependable as their guide, like a Sherpa taking you on a route. You can trust them completely. So as well as these 4 years of doing movement work and learning in how to do, how to touch, how to lift, how to position, how to progress through, we were receiving Feldenkrais lessons from each other because we were practicing with each other. So we were all arriving earlier and earlier in the mornings to practice on and with. I think first of all we all started thinking it was practicing on each other, and then we realised it was practicing with, and then we realised it was supporting each other, and then it was assisting each other to explore as we realised that our learning grew and we knew a little bit more perhaps about what we did. We also had many visiting trainers, and they would give private lessons at the end of the day, and I was fortunate to have a big number of private lessons with very, very, very very interesting and good trainers who were visiting. I won't tell you all about that right now, but as I say, the day was hard packed, and we used to then leave, and of course being a group of us, we'd go and adjourn to a pub and have a coffee or a beverage. And of course we used to talk again about, gossiping about what was going on, but we'd also talk about the method and what we were finding out. And we were all coming from such different backgrounds. On my training there were, I was the only UK trained physiotherapist on my training. And I was the only one with the background, obviously, that I had. We had quite a lot of people from the theatre and arts background. We had people from overseas, from Germany, Austria, I think Switzerland. It's difficult sometimes to remember, even though I used the group, if you like, as a part of a study for my master's that I did. I used the group for part of that, which I can tell you about another day if you're interested. But as I say, the learning didn't stop there, because we were also expected to go and have, over the course of the 4 years, a minimum of 20 one-to-one functional integration lessons. And that was either outside the training, so that could be funded. I went and had quite a few of mine with different practitioners. So it was a complete immersion. And I think that's such a contrast now to the way in which individuals study. 4 years of doing that, it became a 4-year passion. The whole of the summer was taken up with going on the training. The whole of my Easter holiday was taken up with going on the training. In between times, I was going to workshops. I was hearing about visiting overseas Feldenkrais trainers, and I'd go and study with them. I studied with Ruthie in the holidays, as it were. And at the same time, I was working and running my business. And I was able to integrate the work into helping my athletes, elite level athletes and performers, all my clients who came to see me. So I've been integrating the work into problem solving for health, if you like, for, well, as I say, since I first came across it. So since I started doing workshops for myself, which would have been back in about 1991, I've been integrating little elements. First of all, it was breath work, which I can tell you about another time. First of all, it was breath work, and then slowly, as I got to know more, I was integrating more and more of it into day-to-day explorations with my clients. So I'll tell you a bit more tomorrow. And as I say, I should be running some Feldenkrais lessons online. There will be a picture somewhere in this bloggy thing that goes up with my episode, and there will be a join the waiting list here. Click, join the waiting list here, and if you go on that here, it will take you through to a page where you can submit your name and your email address, and you will literally go on a waiting list, and when I have sufficient people, we will be running online lessons. And those, I'll tell you more about that when we've just done this introduction. So have a beautiful day. It's the 12th of August here. I've recorded this one straight after the last one that went out yesterday. I might do the next one tomorrow. And beautiful sunshine, very dry. It's going to be a very hot day today. I hope wherever you are, you're safe. It's not too hot, that the climate change is something that's being dealt with in a adult and mature way in your area, she says with a big sigh. And I look forward to telling you more tomorrow. So tomorrow I'm going to read you the final part of the introduction, and maybe we might just talk a little bit about the first lesson. I don't know. Anyway, look forward to talking to you tomorrow. Have a lovely day. Take care. Bye.